damage management. So one thing, just to get clear, so I do not do non-game, pocket gophers, skunks, woodchucks. I have stuff on it, and I will talk about it for this because Mary had said that we want this whole group to be able to know about those things. But my primary funding to the Division of Fish and Wildlife is all from hunters and trappers. And one of the biggest things we're seeing in Klein nationwide is from hunters and trappers, license fee money. If you will notice up here, there are 2 other specialist positions we've historically had. They're vacant. Funding. I will be hiring those. I have an OAS, an Office Administrative Assistant, and Lori, she's sitting in the back there. And she's going to learn a little more about our program. I just hired her. She hasn't run off yet after being with me for 6 months, so that's pretty good. But I plan on hitting a few things. I need to talk about our program. That's why I'm here. Deer hunters and trappers are paying for me to be here. There is no fee to this group. We're the DNR. This is what we do. Extension and education. There's handouts and different things over here. There's different types of materials and different things. And I'm going to talk about some of these here. I may jump around and grab a few and show you, but I'll go through this pretty quick. In college when I was teaching, this is called Death by PowerPoint. So I'm going to give you a lot of slides. I'm going to show you pictures and do things. I'm going to give you some state laws and rules so you're aware of changes, things that I've gotten passed through the legislature that allows you or your friend or neighbor or someone to help you take care of damage issues, which was totally illegal in the past. And a lot of people thought they could do this, but I've made it legal, made it good. My 85-year-old grandma's, started realizing I couldn't drive an hour and a half to go help her all the time. That doesn't make sense. Let someone else help her, okay? So there was a driving force behind it. So one thing is the problem is manifested. When wildlife damage crosses the threshold of social tolerances, every one of you in here has a completely different tolerance of what you think damage is. How many of you here can't stand it if you see one deer in your yard eating your hostas or anything? How many are like, yeah, see, oh, there, oh, well, maybe, yeah, it's okay, 2, okay, right off the bat. Everyone in here is completely different, or 0, or 3, or 5. Good point to drop.
About 18?
Yeah, 18, 20, okay. Well, you're going to be an oddball if you accept that. But biggest thing everyone can associate with is geese. Geese around the lakes area, and we're in the United States, they're thriving. Minnesota, we brought them back. We're very successful. They're one of the biggest animals. I work with area wildlife staff on removal permits out of season for crop damage, health, and human safety issues. We're very successful. We're over successful. So one of the things is social tolerances in people. Wildlife damage management is all about social tolerances. There's animals there. They're part of the factor, but it's human beings. So there's no silver bullet. Everyone in this room is different. How many people in the state of Minnesota are there? That's how many differences I have to work with every single day. So the big thing with this program is established by state statute 1993 by the legislature. Basically, we had an individual shoot a lot of deer in an orchard, stack them up like cordwood, and say, what are you going to do to me? You're not helping me. They're overabundant. You're catering to hunters. I'm sick and tired of this damage. Go ahead and prosecute. The whole thing led to establishment of this program. What this program does, we provide technical assistance for help, which is we identify problems, we propose solutions, and we provide abatement designs and material sources, and we help them demonstrate, show them how to construct these things. And we provide materials to qualified growers. So we don't just give them to anyone. If you got deer eating your tulips, I'm sorry. But now, if you're selling them and can prove to me you're making $1,000, wow, we've just jumped into a whole different classification. You're an agricultural producer. So if you sell your stuff and you do that, you can do that. So one of the criteria is to get funds from us, you have to sell $1,000, and we have to confirm that you have damage actively going on. So if your tulips were damaged last year and you call me in December, no go. I have to verify, and our staff verify you actually have damage. The funds are available, are not available before damage has been documented or occurred. So this isn't like Conservation Reserve Program, CRP, where it's like the DNR saying, come sign up. We got all this free money. Come on, sign up. We'll just give you a fence. We'll do all this stuff. No, this is designed to help people that are already having damage, help them, show them how to do it. And if you were an actual nursery or someone producing flowers, which we have them in this area, we provided them fences, they get up to $5,000 in material from us per state statute. It used to be $3,000. It covers maybe 2 acres of a fence. So if you're commercially producing it though, 2 acres is a lot, it seems like, but for them, that's kind of a bare minimum to be able to make an economic livelihood the whole time. They're making more than $1,000 off it. They're trying to live off of it or supplement their income. We cannot reimburse you for materials, and the funds are game and fish funds. They're not taxes. Number one thing I always get is, my tax dollars are paying for this. No, I'm sorry. If you don't hunt or trap, you're not paying my salary, and you're not paying any of this stuff. So we want to make sure we're clear to that to the public. And compensation is not an option. Minnesota, we do not pay for damages for these animals, for this situation. We do pay for, the DNR does not. The state of Minnesota does for elk and for wolf damage. Those are 2 specific things that the Department of Agriculture pays compensation for, not the DNR. State legislature has set that one up. So you guys all know about deer. Deer damage and all sorts of things. Orchards, berries, vegetables, nursery stock. Stored forage is hay, silage, all sorts of things that farmers have. Landscaping, landscape companies, vineyards. Vineyards are booming in Minnesota. They're all over the place. You've seen the microbrews, the breweries. So it comes around hard cider now. Everyone wants hard cider. This is a new thing that everybody wants. The orchards need to produce more apples, all this stuff. Everybody's got an orchard. Everybody's meeting our qualifications. We have a 3-year waiting list now just to help people. Our funds are gone. I run around like a chicken with my head cut off trying to help them, plus do the rest of the program because I have no staff. We just can't make ends meet. There's a lot of demand out there. So with deer damage, it comes in a lot of different ways. So here's some that you got. You know, this is ear corn that they have. This is on a nursery stock for trees to be planted. The bucks rub their antlers. Arborvitae's, number one thing, never to plant in Minnesota. And they love pumpkins. Pumpkins any time of the year, and you get a drought, it's bad. This is the biggest thing people don't realize. Grapevines, grapes are real acidic. Grape seed extract is used as repellent for geese and everything. But when they're growing and they're green, deer love them. They eat them down to nothing. If I could get deer to eat apple trees where the shoots are going straight up vertical, cut those off, which no one wants because that's just growth, not fruiting buds, get them to eat them in the summer, and then in the winter, get the deer to turn around and eat grapes and prune them back for them, I'd be a billionaire. And that isn't happening. I've tried. They just don't listen. So what we do is we identify the damage, we monitor and take notes, and we tell anyone about this stuff too, and this will help you in what you have, because you might not know the critter that's out there to do this stuff. So take notes, take pictures, write it down. Biggest thing is, look what it is, see what's doing it, and know anything else that's around there, something they're not touching. This goes for anything that you grow. Because you might find, I love to grow this elephant leaf pasta, I just gotta have it. Not gonna happen. Deer in your area love it. But you might find one that you can grow that might not be as palatable and takes a repellent much better. And by doing those little notes and these little things in your head, you can be real successful. And then take action. Always ask for help early, look for things, and find things right off the bat. Do not wait until something is totally demising something eating. You see something, eat it, start watching it. You see something else, it's the same thing for molds, other insects, and any other pests. Deer are pest management. Integrated pest management is from molds and funguses, aphids, deer, bear, it's all there. All those are, and it's just not the way people think about it. So raccoons, tools that you can control, these are the natural things for almost every species. Population management, you got to have a population. Too many fruit flies coming in. What do I do? Put this out and catch them. It's the same thing with deer in your yard. If you're allowed to hunt, use that opportunity. Repellents, there's other deterrents, hazing, there's barriers like these little tree tubes. Short-term fixes. Great, I got this out there so I can run, go on vacation, come back, and then find everything is destroyed. What we want to see is long-term fixes. And the number one long-term thing is exclusion. You got to keep the animal away. It costs money, it takes time, but once you get the right thing in, the rest of your life you can enjoy in your garden. Because if nothing can get in and damage it from animals, you have other things you got to manage for, but you don't spend time on that. So wildlife population management is the biggest thing the DNR does. We set up seasons, rules, and regulations. These are my 2 little girls. I have 2 little girls. They love to go outside. I have taught them to be, no one is going to help them anymore. No one's going to help them with rabbit damage. Rabbits are eating your crops. What are you going to do? You have to catch them. You have to. Is someone going to humanely dispatch them for you? Probably not. Are you going to turn them loose? Well, you're going to turn loose a problem on someone else's place? Are you going to have friends after that? Probably not. Are you spreading disease when you turn that animal loose and you feel good? How about if you turn that animal loose right now when there's no food and it's in someone else's territory and it gets beats up and dies? I mean, these are things I tell my kids flat out at a young age, and they realize that there's all these different consequences, and I want them to make good choices and decisions. We have trappers and hunters. This is my daughter at 6 years old goes to Missouri and harvests an antlerless deer to help a farmer that has crop damage. It is the biggest thing in this state. Kids at this age want to be on tablets, want to be on everything. If you teach a kid the right way and you have a responsible adult with them, kids need to learn at a very young age. If they are able to do it and have the right mentorship and leadership and show them these things, they can be just as responsible as you as I when we're 65, 75, and 80. We need to start young. It's a big misnomer that kids are not smart enough to do this stuff. My daughters have taught me so much. I was dual income, no kid for a long time. Lived the life, but I learned through them way more to help people, and seeing through their eyes and other people is the biggest way that's opened me up to learn a better way that we need to do things. You know, and my oldest daughter thought it was really good to trap rabbits. Guess what? She wants a pet bunny now. I don't know if I really want to trap bunnies anymore. I mean, it's real. And her younger sister's like, you wimp, what, don't you want to do this? Don't you want to come out? They're eating her blueberries right now, devastating her blueberries, which they enter into fair here. She will have no blueberries. Her little sister says, you'll have none and I will win. So, I mean, it's reality. And at that young age, when a 5-year-old can get reality, I think we all can. You know, it's just kind of that, I never thought a 5-year-old would think about it that way, but she's right. She's telling her sister, go ahead, whine, complain, and decide not to do it, but hey, that's what you're choosing to do. We all make choices in life. Another thing about hunting and issues of population management, private land is off limits. How many of you live in town in the city? How many of you live outside of town where you could have hunting or do anything you want and population management? Okay, so we have the completely different aspects. So they're off limits, no public hunting and trapping, reduced bias harvest. We have people that only want to shoot bucks. The farm field next to you gets sold off, the farmer retires, is done. The young farmer can't afford to buy it, someone else buys it just for deer hunting property. Lets the farmer farm it, but they can't shoot all those does that they were doing. Next thing you know, all your hostas, your roses, everything's being eaten. Deer population 3 years ago so high and crazy. Where is this coming from? It's coming from your neighbors, it's coming from surroundings. Urban development, pushing out and going. Firearms restriction. In an urban area, the DNR has no ability. We do not control that stuff. It is up to your city and your municipality for you to work with. If you have issues and there's urban hunting or different things that they don't do, we promote it. A place like the Arboretum here, great deer habitat, has tons of animals around it. There are Arboretum landscapes around that have hunting. You know, the University Landscape Arboretum in Chanhassen, I work with, they have hunting. They do culling operations, they have to. So those are things that they work with. The habitat loss, your natural predators. How many people in here are scared of coyotes? Yeah, like they're gonna attack me, eat me, and I better shoot everyone on my seat. Yeah, they run away, exactly. If we go to a different environment, in a different location, do you know how many people want to eradicate coyotes? They kill your mice, your voles, your red squirrels, your chipmunks, your gophers. They do all that stuff. So you're losing your natural predators. Even fox. People are scared of fox. In downtown Duluth, in Canal Park, there's a lot of fox that keyed in. Why? Because people let domestic rabbits go. The fox found them and they eat them all. Now people are afraid of foxes. Oh, there are foxes all over. Well, yeah, they're controlling this thing that's eating all the beach dune-grass you're trying to restore. And all these different things. And the ecosystem's out of balance because of what we do. You know, some green spaces have no hunting and trapping. We have mild winters. I didn't say we have climate change. I didn't say global warming. I said we have mild winters. We have climate, there are changing things going on, and the DNR does admit to it, address it, and talk about it. We have changes. Look at this winter right now. It wasn't that bad. Had a lot of snow. How cold was it? It wasn't that cold. How much frost damage do you have? Probably not that much. When we have winters with no snow and lots of frost, we have lots of frost damage. You guys can tell me all that, and I learn from people like you, because when you have Mother Nature destroying your stuff from frost and weather stuff, so will farmers and everyone else. If we all got together and shared our information, man, we'd have one of the best things going on. Our natural mortality of predators and animals that are abundant like deer just isn't happening. In the far north, we do have winters still killing deer off. We don't have it right here. Another one is buck fever. Is this person doing great for population management? And this is what you see all over social media and places. This is a big driver force in the hunting community. It's not helping you. Why? Because the culprit lives on. A lot of people get offended when they see this culprit. It's a nice doe, it's fuzzy, it's charismatic. But this is the one that reproduces. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it is the way it is. It's a spade. And it eats and eats and eats, and it's eating for 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's eating for a lot. And it's a replacement factor. One buck, if you get rid of him, so what? Another one moves in. Services 7, 8 does. When you're down to 2 does, you just have the recovery of those 2. So it's population management. And that is for any animal, any critter, any insect. I'm sorry, the ladies are the problem. And that's why my wife won't say that. But that's one where you look at it, and it's what's the issue? It's reproduction. It's just flat out biology, general biology. So it's more complicating factors is recreational feeding of wildlife. That supports higher densities. You might feed your birds, guess what? Turkeys come there, turkey's a bird. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat if you call me. I'm gonna say, congratulations, turkeys are damaging your feeder, but you're successful, you got a bird. Deer then feed on the waste grain, and so do mice, squirrels, voles, and everything else. And actually, your very thick litter layer of your shells probably promotes mold, mildew, which can go into your plants. There's a big thing there of what this does. It increases the reproductive rates of deer and all them, survival, and their pattern alternates. Why? Because they have alternative things. They're not going to become afraid of you because you're a food mechanism for them. You are now the buffet line. And you're my food source, and the more and more I see you, the more and more I'm okay with it, unless there's a negative stimulus tied to it. But when you have food in there, it's very hard for that negative stimulus to work or that exclusion method or anything else. So there's special interest groups. Hunters support higher populations, flat out. They want to see more deer and they want more deer. And people nowadays, I don't know, I just was dumbfounded to hear this, that we actually had a hunter say he was very surprised he didn't get a deer because when Minnesota sells him a deer license, that means he has a deer to harvest. He didn't get a deer. He's very frustrated he didn't get a deer. Like when we sell these permits, there better be a deer out there with your name on it, or I didn't understand that. But I mean, he didn't see one and get one, so you're selling me something like if I pay for a parking spot, there will be a parking spot in the ramp for me. So this is who I work with, and we work with in the DNR every day as a completely different bunch of people. Animal rights groups often support they non-lethal methods. So how many of you here, if you lived in city and the city said, we're not going to remove deer, not have hunting, but we're going to do a uterine implant on deer, it's going to cost $500,000 a year. Go to Chicago, they've done it. Go to Minneapolis, St. Paul right now, at the end of the month it stops, there's a lot of cities doing culling of deer. It's way more cost effective, they're reducing the populations, and that's what they're doing. They do know, some cities are bringing it to attention now, they do have people that don't want it. And they may have areas they're slowly reducing parks and doing to see more damage, so they may have to do this. There's not a really good birth control for most animals that are out there. But a lot of that is what people want to see. The other thing, repellents. How many of you have used repellents in here? Did you put them on before you saw damage or once you saw something coming, eating it and doing it? Probably
Before.
Okay.
Now.
So now, before now, there's a good one. I learned on that one. So these are all the different ones you see. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a salesperson, I'm not a sales rep, but this Repellix up here, I have personally used these tablets. You can go to Home Depot and buy them. You can go online and buy them. It is something the University of Minnesota developed, saw that it was not going to work. An individual bought the patent rights for it, went to Indiana, and is extremely successful. The issue with it right now is cannot get enough recycled newspaper to be able to make these tablets because of other demands. So it is capsaicin and garlic and different things put in there, and you'll find on the label it's a little frustrating. It doesn't tell me exactly how many to put in. Put them there, put enough, put it this. Well, as my grandmother told me and my grandpa, more is better, right? Load them up. So it does work. It's a systemic. This Repellix one is a systemic that goes in. There's granules and different things, but I have used it. I know other people that have used it, and it works very good. The other one's plant skid. Plant skid is a pig blood derivative. Be careful for voles. Voles in the winter, so it works for your trees and your shrubs. You spray it on, deer don't like it. It can wash off, but the voles will find that blood and girdle your tree. If it runs down and it's thick, they will girdle it, and that's happened. I've seen it with the U.S. Forest Service on the Gunflint Boundary Waters corridor. I worked on a project up there when I worked for the Forest Service. You put it on too much, and the voles found it and girdled the trees. You didn't put it on enough, and the moose and their hares turned them into bonsai trees. There's some awesome looking trees that are about that tall. They're 15 years old, and they're like this, and if we dug them up and sold them, we'd make good money off them. But that's not what the Forest Service wanted. Yep.
I can't read. What is that green bottle?
So it is Repellex is what it's called.
Respell it.
R-E-P-E-L-L-E-X. And right here, over here, I have a sheet with all sorts of fencing, all sorts of URLs. They're all web-based and all iron, and it's one that's awesome.
Do they sell Repellex here in this area?
Home Depot should have it. If it doesn't, no, Ruth, she retired. She doesn't work in there. So Home Depot had a person in their flower section and in their garden section, and I worked with her to get the right stuff, right things here, and on these things they're tested. Be cautious on any plants you're buying right now that say they're deer resistant, because these nurseries are putting Repellex tablets in there, and the deer won't eat them for that year, but next year they're gonna pound them down, and they don't tell you they're putting them in there.
So do the plants then absorb
Plants
it?
uptake it into everything that's growing. Woody plants are a little harder. They won't give you recommendations for woody plants.
How about blueberries?
Blueberry is just for non-edible because it is a systemic and you cannot use it in any fruit. I will tell you, your Honeycrisp will be the best jalapeno flavored, hot, sweet apple you'll eat if you try it. Don't try it. It's against label. Can't do it. Yes?
Question. Many of us live on lakes, rivers, etc. And so when you use some of these products, are you going to have to be aware of election problems?
Not with Repellex. It is garlic and capsaicin, 100% natural.
But everybody should be aware of that, you know.
Yep, and
Is not good.
And when you look at these, so this is pig blood, natural. There's Hinder and all these other ones that you can buy. And then when you put that on, I'm going to tell you one thing. If you put repellents on and you're worried about leachates, you're going way beyond label recommendations. You're doing something wrong if you have that, because these are just a topical that only lasts for 14 days. There are the ones that you need to really worry about. Unless you're a pesticide applicator, you can't buy them. You won't be able to buy them. If you do get something that says and has a whole warning label and you can't use the riparian corridors and all that stuff, I'd be asking where you got that one. So these ones, almost all your repellents and liquid sprays are going to be capsaicin based. Hot peppers. Animals don't like it. You used to have putrescent egg solids in there, so rotten eggs. You won't find that anymore. FDA, it was a food thing. There was a scare of our food being contaminated and all that stuff. So no longer, the Repellex company had a lot of money invested into a new product. And FDA told them and other companies, and they yanked it. They have it. It's really good. I will tell you. Wait, you're recording. I can't tell about that one. That ain't gonna happen.
I'll turn it off.
No. So, do you guys know where the winery, the new winery, Dennis Drummond Winery is? Dennis Drummond has a great concoction. All of his stuff there is sprayed. Deer in the school forest and the school park right there, they're abundant and all over the place, and he has no issues. So he has a good concoction. I can't give it out to you as a state agent. I can't do that stuff. But Dennis knows the secret. Dennis has a very good thing.
You guys good luck with milorganite. If you use that at all?
If you use milorganite, be cautious next to water because that is human feces derived. There are the test for milorganite is snakes and small mammals and stuff. And deer will smell it for a while, but they become used to it.
We put it in a plastic container so the smell comes
So you
out,
got the
but
concentrate? Yeah. And it'll work. And the other thing too is if they have other food available, it will work because they have other things to go to.
We use it like right across here in that garden and they stay out.
Yep, because look at everything else they got.
Yeah.
That's the big key too, other food sources. If they don't have other food sources, it changes. Just one thing to remember about repellents, they're not a fence. Yeah, very low damage they work. Prior to application, I was getting at that, put on before you see damage, apply frequently. they're labor intensive. You gotta do it. If it rains or there's heavy dew, they wash off. And same with these granules, systemics. They require constant vigilance. You gotta watch it. You gotta apply manufacturer's recommendations again, and the weather, again, is your biggest effective thing. So effectiveness depends on also the population density, other food that's around, just like you're saying, we put it out here, it works great. Look at all the stuff that they got to eat that's out here. Palatability of your plants. There's a lot of plants you'll see there's research on. Deer really love this, they like that, they don't like this, they like that. Right now, raspberries, they are pounding raspberries for vitamin C in the plant. They're eating Canadian thistle because of the vitamin C in the plant right now in swamps and all over. And we spray, kill that stuff like you wouldn't believe. And the deer out there pawing it up right now in swamps and every place they can get it. So their mobility for the animal to cause damage. A goose, way more mobile than a chipmunk. Those are things you just think of as you're going. Accessibility and alternate sites. Can I get them to my neighbors? Can they go over there? You know, how do I keep them over there? And weather. Those are just big things. So how many of you guys have seen bud caps on trees? Easy thing to do. Do you know what deer do? They get smart after about 3 years. They realize they can come up and grab that thing. It's not stapled on the tree. And I've watched does rip it right off and show their fawns. Balloons are used on hardwoods, on oak or other things like that. The only issue with that is they're finding fungus problems if you don't remove it. Most deer damage to regeneration stuff is going on right now. That's what we found is because the deer are getting it, the snow is opening up all these new seedlings and everything there that they hadn't eaten all winter, and they pound them. And that's where state forests and places have issues. But these are things you can really simply do, very easy. I did this in my yard, but then I had to put cages on my trees trying to get it there. Because the place I bought when I moved to Brainerd, the guy put 300 feet of cedar in the front. Next to state wildlife management land across the road. Okay. One night, 17 deer ate the thing off all the way at 6 feet. So it doesn't take them long. And when they're hungry and they're gonna die, wild animals will eat and absorb a lot of negative stimulus to survive. We have never had to probably endure the drive to live like that, so we don't understand that as humans. But that is what they do. It's crazy what they take. So the bud capping is different versions. Physical barriers. You can put up wire cages like this around. This is on state land. And we have this in areas of Minnesota, we have to do this. We actually have forestry plots right now that we are completely fencing off with a 10-foot woven wire fence to keep deer out because there's no regeneration. I would have never thought we're gonna do that. They do it in Europe and around, but right now deer are the biggest thing we can't control. Private landowners decide how many deer they're gonna take and what they're gonna take. And in urban environments, if there's no hunting and any other population curbing, that's another source that comes up. So we have to look at all those things. One of the things too, wire cages, they can be small, you can put different things on. This is taken in my yard when I bought the place. So these are just chicken wire going around apple trees that I planted. And these little guys found everything. This up here, concrete mesh you buy at Menards. 6x6 squares, it rusts, kind of looks bad. But it's durable and heavy, they can't get through it. So you know what, I put up with 3 years of people thinking that I have some junkyard yard or something like that, and I was like, you know what, but I got trees and you don't. So, it's cheaper, it's very cheap to buy that stuff. I had to take the cheap way. I, for once, had to have house payments, couldn't figure that one out, that was just expensive fast. So here it is, this is that concrete mesh that I put around the apple trees. And the deer, they stayed away. I staked them in, they couldn't tip them over, get to them and secure them and everything like that. You don't see anyone really using that anymore. Chicken wire goes around. And once I started adding more apple trees, looked at the cost, the time to do all this stuff, heck, I'm putting up a fence. I'm sick and tired of this, sick and tired of dealing with deer. There's only like 4 or 5 deer around, but they're constantly there. I'm running all around the state teaching people about how to do this, and I'm not even practicing what I preach. So I invested $1,200 on my own. And in here, you can actually see in this spot, there's arborvitaes that were in there, and they're all mowed up in the yard. The guy planted all sorts of stuff in there, and had a couple apple trees. I added this as a half-acre apple orchard. I got around 80-some trees in there now, in a half acre. I don't even have to do anything. Deer can't get them. Banana boo-boo. They walk around the outside of it. And I like it. And if raccoons want to get in, guess what? On these posts right here, I just put electric wire at 6, 12, and 18. Done. The bear tried to get in there. Let's put another wire a little higher. Fix you too. So I'm done. The infrastructure's in. The things are there. People say it looks not so nice. Have any of you seen the high school fence that's back here for the kids to use and everything? My predecessor, who had this position before, Nick Ryan, was the one that helped on that. He helps a lot of school gardens and stuff like that. That is basically what you need to build to do it. He did his entire 1 acre backyard, fenced the whole thing off. And in the front of it, their hostas, everything else is mowed off, so now he can garden and enjoy everything he does. He's with the senior center. He does all the plant sale and everything there. He runs the greenhouse for it and everything. Loves gardening, loves doing this stuff, but hated the deer damage. For 20 years, the deer mowed everything off because he was doing the same thing I was doing, traveling around teaching people all about how to have to do it. And we don't have the time, so, you know, I learned a little bit, as he said, you learned sooner than I did and younger than I did, and you made the right move. So, the other thing is, have you seen these poly tubes people use? So they're just a cylinder. You can get them at Forestry Supply or anywhere else. So if you have things that you want to protect, if you've got a really nice tree that you want to plant, something you want to add to the yard, something you want to do, maybe you want to put a nice flowering crab in and you want to prune it and do these things, make it look nice, that's something that you can put in. There's different kinds of them. There's little wire things that go around. This is like a corrugated mesh, plastic. So they all work. One thing we tell people, there's noise and bangers and stuff, and you can do pots and pans and all this stuff. Does that really work? There you go. No. It's 1 or 2 days and they run them off. Guess what? As soon as you go to bed, they come running back in. So there's all these different things you can do. The pyrotechnics, scare tape, balloons and kites. Have your dog do it. Natural predators are there. How many of you try to use balloon and kites or anything like that to scare animals away? They're expensive. And I'll tell you, save your money and exclude the animal. I'll tell you that flat out. Most places are not gonna like me telling you that. Save the money, don't buy the repellent, don't do this. Figure out how to exclude them out, and so you don't have to do it. There's more things stacked against you. Natural predators, I just want people to know, we promote the natural ecosystem. Most people see this rattlesnake right here, the first thing they say is squash that thing, kill that thing, it's gonna kill me. Unique timber rattlers are in Minnesota, in the Kettle River Valley, in St. Croix Valley. Those are natural predators, so we're good. And orchards that are on the river valley, they figure out we need them. Why? Gopher, vole, small mammal control. So they don't get worried about them. But there's all different kinds up there. Great horned owls, barred owls, fox, snake, all sorts of stuff. And that's where coyotes are one. I've since taken coyotes off, because coyotes are a very sensitive thing, because they're killing dogs and cats in the metro. They are attacking people in California and other places like that, so I have chosen to take that off the slide because there's some people that just totally do not think that that thing that can kill me should be on there. Well, it's no different than that rattlesnake. But it just makes it sensitive. So short-term fixes. Trap and remove or trap and relocate. So how many of you guys have had bear issues? DNR, yeah, okay. Call the DNR and come and get them. Nope, we used to do that a long time ago. We don't have the staff, we don't have the time, it got really expensive, and you have one biologist passing another biologist with a bear and dropping them off, and we weren't successful. And the bear would come 80 miles back home. You know, some bears would stay. Not all bears are an issue, but we don't recommend it, anything. In Minnesota, if we trap a bear for anyone, or a trapper traps a bear, it is euthanized. We have a trap and euthanize policy. Yep, because we in the previous, we moved bears and we moved them around, and it wasn't successful. But do you know what that does? Most people don't want that bear killed. They solve the problem. Clean up the dog food, put the garbage away, do everything they can because they don't want the bear killed. This is the biggest thing I work with explaining to legislators or concerned citizens is the bear most likely is not the problem. The problem is what the people are doing. We need to change the human action. And a lot of people don't want them killed, flat out. They'll tell you that. I just don't want the problem. Move it to somewhere else. Well, do you want me to give it to someone else? Look at what you don't like and then put it on someone else to have the same problem? Oh, I guess not. And I'm like, and the more you do this, the more you're teaching that bear to be bad. Get rid of it, make it be natural.
Is there some point where they decide that that bear really does need to be removed?
Public safety issues are decided by public safety people, and with the public, we let you choose. You pay a bear trapper if you choose it's going to be euthanized because it's destroying your property, because I'll get into it. State statute says if it's destroying property, you can remove it. In Minnesota, a bear, you can shoot a bear destroying your property. State statute allows it. But you can't touch a deer. So, yeah, what?
Even if the bear has cubs?
The state statute says a bear causing damage can be removed. Would we as a DNR write a permit? If we write a permit, we say the sow and the cubs need to be removed. If the cubs are small, they would go to a rehab center. But the state statute allows you to shoot that sow and the cubs are there. It doesn't, there's no discrimination in the statute. Exclusion, lots of fencing, lots of different things. So there's electric fence that we did for the DNR, the 10-foot woven wire, and there's this new step-in stuff that people see. Have any of you used that on any of your gardening or anything to try electric fence to keep them out? This is the most common one. Fleet Farm sells it now. It's rampant. It's all over the place. 8 years ago, you couldn't touch it. You couldn't buy it.
It's electric?
It's an electric fence that is stepped in. It comes pre-assembled, 12 feet between each post, 100-foot long sections. You take this, you step it in the ground. It's got a clip. You clip it onto the next one. This is designed specifically for deer. As I told the company that manufactures it, do you think they can't jump that? Well, they can, but they have other food in the summer and other places to go, so they don't. So we have people that run this around their house and their flower gardens, do it for a couple weeks, keep the deer out, and done. And if I see a deer show up, I put that there. My grandkids came and grabbed a hold of it. Guess I'm not going to do that again. And for those electric options, there are easy things you can run and buy, which this is an energizer. You don't need, this is the grounding rod on the bottom. You clip this on, it runs on D batteries, and it works. It's made for homeowners. This is an electric energizer that will shock raccoons, deer, whatever, grandkids, neighbors, whatever you want to do. Yourself is probably the biggest thing you're going to get zapped. But you don't need to pound in these 6-foot ground rods and do all this work that other things are doing. So there's a different variable thing, and that's what I want. There's all these different sizes, different things that are there for deer. The temporary ones, a lot of them, you can build it to suit, do what you want. This is a farmer's market garden person that put it up, and do you know what they called their place? Whitetail Acres. In the river bottom, deer, they came to the field, there's all these deer traveling across it in the winter when they looked at big trails where they're called Whitetail Acres. And you're trying to grow vegetables, like, I would run the other way. You put the, well, it's cheap rent. Get what you pay for. It wasn't cheap once they started putting this up and they could move around, just protect their watermelons, just protect certain things the deer wanted. We also do stuff on posts and rods with this same wire. You can buy it at Fleet Farm or anywhere. This is called poly wire. It has 7 metal filaments in it with poly plastic. You stretch it. It's easy. It's lightweight. You're running around your cabbage patch or whatever you're doing, and it works this fast. Can be used year round. You take it down year after year, and you can set it up. All self-explanatory, easy to do. I've got all the different types of insulators up here as an example, and different things you can do. And then there is the energized fence. It is a psychological barrier. I want to tell you this right away. It's not a physical barrier. No matter what anyone tells you, it is not a physical barrier. Deer can jump it, they can go through it. If it's not the right type of fence, if it's all positive and it's the ground is when you walk up and touch it and are positive wires, as soon as that deer's in the air jumping, deer go through, under, then over. They go right through those wires and they're not zapped. And if you do zap a deer or an animal, think about this. You're walking up somewhere, you get into it, boom, you get zapped and you get inside. Are you gonna go walk back out? No. You're gonna stay in there and eat all the good stuff that's in there. You're gonna do all that, it doesn't work. Another thing with it, it's lower cost, it's easy to do, but in the winter, snow insulates it. So if you're looking at trees, or strawberries, raspberries, protecting perennials, it's not a good thing. There's a lot of vegetation management. Can't have it shorted out, can't have all this stuff. So there's a lot of different issues with it. And right in the bottom I put, kids getting shocked. Because yes, in an urban environment, most cities won't allow this. You can't have it up because people can get zapped. And then they're like, great, keeps my neighbor from coming over here. Keeps the neighbor dog from pooping in my yard. I'm putting that up. The DNR told me to do it. Oh, it gets really fun when city administrators call you. But woven wire and true barriers are your mess thing. But there's other things you can use. So this is one as a physical barrier. Its advantage is low maintenance. You don't have to do vegetation control. This could be a rock retaining wall. If you go out here and look at this one, they had to build it up, so there's rocks. Couldn't get all the way down through, so they built it up with rocks, and then there's 8 feet of fence, but you truly have 2 feet of a barrier. Think about the animal you're trying to do. Disadvantages, it's more labor intensive, initial, and the cost up front costs more. So if you want to do a rock wall with a nice flower garden, to get it up so nothing can come up this side, a lot of shoreline stuff is done that way. How do I keep that beaver from coming up and eating my trees off? That's another thing I gotta do. Well, you can edge terraces with 2-foot tall rocks. The beaver can't climb up that rock. Well, then I get a beaver that's got, I don't know, Superman and got wings and flies, but they figure out a way around. But that's how you terrace it, do different things like that. It can work to get the height that you need. There's poly fence. I'm going to tell you this stuff that's all over. I have examples over here of this poly fence. It's all plastic, different sizes, different things. I even brought flight pen netting. This is never recommended to anyone to use. This is very easy. It's used in game farms. Puts around, it's black. You can get this in a thing that's 50 foot by 100 foot or whatever, cut it, make it, do whatever you want. Creates a barrier. A lot of people use fishing line for deer. Have you ever seen that? String up your fishing line to see it. It catches you too, catches the lawnmower, catches the neighbors, catches everyone else. In some people it really works, and it's good. But there's all these other things that nobody's using and telling people about. I'm experimenting with things like that on my own because, for one, homeowners need to have what's readily available, and the new, younger homeowners want what is on Amazon. What can I get? That's the new thing that we have to do. But one of these things is they're lightweight, they're easy to install, they're low visibility. People don't really see them. This is one out on the state forest for oak regeneration. This is a maintenance nightmare. This thing had flag it so people wouldn't go in it, so deer would see it. They'd run into it. Well, we had to fix it because a deer hunter went through it, or a deer went through it. So you got to use PVC to get it back. Well, we'll tie it up on top with baler twine and get that fixed. What does that do when you get a bunch of snow? It gets heavy, it weighs, it falls down, all these things. Plastic is great, quick, easy, fast, but it has issues with it. But look at what works best for you. That's one thing I want you to do. With plastic, rodents, and it degrades. This is on the same fence. A deer went right through it, about this high. Boom, great. Put up a deer-proof deer fence. A deer is going through. This isn't working. But we also find then it's only 7-8 years. Vandalism with people. But the biggest thing is gnawing by rodents. They get bored in the winter, I guess like we do. And they're under the snow, so let's just chew. And pretty soon you got rabbits coming in, all this stuff. I've seen a lot of gardeners using that stuff and it not working. Metal. Start chewing on metal, it's a whole different reaction. Yeah, it's harder to work with, it's stiffer, it's not as much fun, it's not as aesthetically pleasing, but metal will keep rodents out. Bear depredation. They get up into your bird feeders. Obviously, that bird feeder, the collar on there, that is not to keep the bear from climbing up on there. I want to make that clear. People think, well, do you recommend that? I'm like, no, they do that for squirrels. That bear will rip that thing down, eat it, and be done. But bears love everything under the sun. Garbage, you name it, apiaries, beans, squash. Bear will eat anything. They're not for it. So just remember that. Waste. We already have bear complaints now. Bears are up moving all over the state. But bears, they look pretty good, right? This isn't aggressive. This is a real picture. This is a bear that's just sitting there like, come on. So if I come to your place and I see this, and you tell me you don't feed any animals, I'm going to say baloney right away. Because it's ready for dinner. And it's sitting there perfect. Why is it going to the picnic table? There's been food there. This is a key thing to point out to people. I don't know why this bear's coming. I don't have anything in my fire pit where I was cooking the hot dogs. No, but your kids have hot dog juice all over the picnic table and keeps coming back. Why is he chewing on the corner of the picnic table? Oh, probably because I had the high chair over there and we had all this stuff spilled in Kool-Aid and da-da-da. Yeah. But the bear keeps coming back to that picnic table. Why? Food. So, this doesn't look bad, right? Yeah, exactly. You know how many kids love this one? But
my Costco meatballs.
Yeah, he wants Costco meatballs, ready-made. And he likes Swedish meatballs too, not just regular ones. But bears, this is an apiary we protected. They are very persistent. So this bear got into this apiary, the fence went up, went around, went up, got zapped. This is 3 feet deep. Dug and was able to get under right over there where those springs were. And those are metal springs which connect metal wire to zap. But figured out how to do that all night long. So when they're food driven and they want something in June, May and June when there's not much out there and bee larvae is there, they're not after the honey at that time. They will eat it, but I have pictures, bears step on the honeycomb, they don't care. They're licking the frames out. They want protein. They're protein driven. They want the larvae. And that's not what a beekeeper wants. They're like, yeah, take the honey, I don't care, I'm trying to build my hive. And the bears know it. It's like these bears know how to really mess with a beekeeper. They kill the number one thing, and I was like, why wouldn't you want? I thought you guys just wanted honey. So I actually have beehives at home. I'm experimenting with new designs, new things, learning bee biology, learning all this stuff, because how else are you gonna help somebody? It's very hard to do, but bears are persistent and they're resourceful. This is one thing, this is the best one that I have. You tell people to put their bird feeder up on a wire and put it all the way across, the bear won't get to it. This is this bear, this is a 2-year-old bear has figured out how to climb out and go out there and get that bird feeder that's out in the middle on top of that wire. And this is a rope, and he gets on the rope and he shimmies himself across. It's Yogi Bear. He grabs the bird feeder, pulls it close, pulls himself up on the rope. Next thing you do is put a lighter rope so they drop and fall. But then guess what? They don't care because they got the bird feeder. It doesn't matter. So you know what you do? You electrify the tree. That's how you stop it. Or you use rubber slugs or rubber buckshot. That is another thing you can get anywhere for bears. That you can get them at any place. Tell people that. Or it's, one of the things in the very beginning, if you know, in the very first picture of this, there's a person standing there in front of the person taking this picture. This bear is habituated. It is so used to people. That's the problem with campgrounds, resorts, and bears coming into an urban setting. Scary. Any animal that you see, that little nice fawn that's right there, okay, fast forward 2 years, it just ate all your flowers. Now, what do you think of that fawn? Okay? That's what I tell people. Scare it off. Get it out of there. You don't want them welcome. The welcome mat is not here for wildlife. People say, how can you say that? How can you do that? You are so cruel. I'm trying to help you curb the damage. This is really what it is. So bears in your yard, biggest thing, it's bird feeders, most common complaint. Let them know about all nuisance bears. We do want to know about nuisance bears. Human-bear interaction and bear property damage is one that we look at things on. If it's a bird feeder, it's your fault. I'm going to tell you that right away. I would not increase bear permits because of people doing bird feeder damage.
I'm having troubles with bears coming, getting into I bought a big pool for
Mhm.
my dogs to be in the summertime. The bears are actually coming in and getting in this pool.
Yeah, cool enough.
Yep.
It's a perfect thing to do. They love swimming pools. Look at California and Colorado.
Yeah.
They're jumping in pools and swimming all the time.
Yep.
Hey, why do we have pools? The one thing, like you put it there for your dog, right? It's great. They love it. All animals love it. Wait till a deer comes in there. They will.
do that.
Deer swim. Yeah. It's amazing the things we put out, and we don't have that, but that's what it is. The biggest thing I want is hazing. Do not let a bear become comfortable. The more hazing you can do and uncomfortable with a bear, you are saving that bear's life. That is what you're doing. We want bears in the woods. We don't want them in town. Quick, take your picture, is what we used to say, and then scare them off. I tell people, don't take a picture, scare them off. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Because your 30 seconds turns to your neighbor's 2 minutes, which turns to the next person on Facebook down the street, 5 minutes, which turns to 30 minutes, and then the bear loves everything. And then the donuts come out 5 blocks down. Or 2 addresses down.
So how early should we take the bird feeders down?
Right now, bears are out, they're moving. Bears really didn't even hibernate this year. Yep, calls are coming in all over. Birds will not die, they're fine. Suet feeders, get them down right now. Raccoons and bears are out like crazy. Yep,
Is it okay just to take your bird feeders in at night?
sure. But I'm going to tell you I'm going to tell you one thing. Clean up the waste underneath it, because that bears are not just nocturnal right now. They're out all the time. Bears are out. This is the biggest misconception is right now bears are not looking for food. They're looking for water to rehydrate in most situations. They will eat. They will do it. We have bears right now that wake up in cornfields and are eating, but normally they don't. Normally they don't. Right now, if they're coming out, people see them. Yeah, they're out of dens. When it's melting and thawing, they're getting flooded out in some cases. You're going to stay down in the water. You're going to come up and sit on the snowbank on the corner of the stop sign. You'll sit at the corner of the stop sign on the snowbank. I don't want to get wet. But they're not, they're laying there, lounging around, rolling around, and everybody's, it's gonna eat me, it's not gonna eat you. They don't like us, we don't taste that good. But bird feeders, so you have all the waste from the birds. Anything you leave there isn't attracted to them. So taking them in, I'm gonna tell you right now, taking them in at night, taking them during the day, it helps a small percentage, but all the waste that's there, you can't control it. Think how much you fill your feeder and the birds throw it all over. There's enough food there for them to keep coming back. So not feeding is the best thing. Switching to plants that feed birds naturally, or I know everyone wants to see them. It's a very sensitive subject. I have my own DNR staff. The press release is coming out next week. I will have internal DNR staff emailing me, calling me, not happy that I am saying to take them down. Them birds are gonna die, they're gonna starve, they're on migration, and you don't know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to keep bears away from people, and birds really don't need the food. There's so much corn, standing corn right now in this state, and other crops they couldn't get out. There's so much other crops that farmers have they're gonna feed on. There's natural stuff. There's acorns were plentiful last year. But the other thing too is, geese, they're thriving. They're really blooming up here. But they love beans, peas, sweet corn, sugar beets, anything they can get into. And in this picture here, there is some small, we just put fence up along the riparian area. Someone else says, well, don't farm down to the water, you'll be fine. But that same person says, tell the farmer not to plant all the way down when I have an issue, wants to mow all the way to the edge, and then complains about the same issue of geese. And it's like, wait a minute, you said the farmer shouldn't plant there. Well, that's habitat destruction. Was bluegrass habitat destruction? What was here before? So it gets really controversial with some people on certain things. They'll jump in on agriculture really fast, but not realize that their own lake home or wetland area they have on a river or whatever is doing the exact same thing.
Because they're grazers.
Yeah, and they love grass. They love that stuff. Raccoons, the same thing. So if you have a raccoon issue and you live on a lake or a river or anything, the same thing you put to keep geese from coming up, that same, if it's electric fence at 6 and 12 inches and 18, will keep raccoons out too. You've just hit 2 with 1 stone. A fence works. Electric fence is the best, 6, 12, and 18. The other thing is trappers. Trappers can remove raccoons. That is the only way to do it. If you're not willing to remove the issue in the situation, you're going to keep having it. Raccoons are creatures of habit. They have a small home range. They're just going to keep staying there. Repellents. People go by coyote urine and put it out there. Some people pee in the corner of their flower beds. They've told me all this stuff. Go to the barber shop and get hair and throw it all over and all this stuff. So think about this. You're in the city here. You go get a whole bunch of hair and you throw it out all over by your flower garden. Do you think, from a barber shop or any salon, do you think that's going to work? Deer are used to smelling people. It works in the boundary waters because they smell the hair, they smell the people, and they go the other way. But you have to think of the animal density and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Well, and you know what? Dog hair works, but if you got dogs around, it doesn't work. Because then my black lab will sit on my deck, see the deer walk right up to my deck to eat the blueberries, and will not chase them or do anything now, and the deer could care less. They used to do the whole game for 4 years. They both have figured everything out, and it's done. And anyone else, my parents show up with their German short hair, whole different issue. It'll run the deer off to the edge of the yard, stop, and now the deer just last night, my parents were in town for my daughter's program, and the deer this morning, runs the deer to the edge, the deer stops, and the dog stops. And I'm like, oh great, this is it, it's over with. Dog comes back in the house, here comes the deer. It's all relative to what they're exposed to. So they're all that way. And this is protecting you from geese. We put up this small fence. Cities do this, municipalities, everything else. It's grazing, they want the grass, they want all this stuff. Repellents work for geese. It's called Stop the Drop. That's literally what it's called. They don't want goose poop. And it's a grapeseed extract, but they put a UV inhibitor in it and they spray it. So like Breezy Point Resort is using it, Craggan's, Bads, all these golf courses use it. It's expensive, but they use it because they don't want to kill the geese. But a lot of them round them up. We remove over 3,000 geese in the metro every year, round it up for population control at city beaches because of E. coli. They've proven it with their water testing. We do that stuff. Or damage, we do a lot with farmers. The silhouettes. So, quick, fast thing you want to go get, right? Put it there. Oh, it's got a spring on it, it bobs. Yeah, no. You got to move them. You got to do everything. There's photographs, motor it. The biggest thing you can do, though, take this thing, put it on this. A remote control car. You want to talk about fun? It's a good time. And if you got younger kids around, golf courses can get a 15, 14, and 12-year-old all day long to chase geese with a remote control car. The best thing, get a hovercraft because it goes on the grass and the water. And you can run them right off, and you can non-lethally haze geese. I had the state statute changed where you can non-lethally haze all game birds in the state of Minnesota now. You as a citizen can non-lethally haze them and run them off. As of 5 years ago, you could not do that. You would get prosecuted for attempting to take them because you were pursuing them. You weren't intentionally doing it. That wasn't the right thing. The legislature agreed. So, remote control car, think about it. Easy to get. They're diamond. I'm not kidding. It's fun. If you have the lakeshore and you've got goose issues and you know people that have them, it works great.
Do they scare deer too?
Yeah. But then when you go to bed, the deer just come back out. Geese go out in the water and stay out there at night. It's a whole different dynamic of the animal. So it works great. But then you better get up before the crack of dawn, which is hard to get the kids to move, get them out there and ready to go again. But here's the thing is, if you're doing something someone else isn't, you win. They're going to go somewhere else they're not doing anything. The geese, they don't want to be harassed. They don't want to be pressured. So what we do at Fort Snelling State Park, one side of the lake, they mow it. Keep it really short. I said, just mow it. Get it down. Harass them, haze them off the beach. Geese all go there. They're all trained now to go there. So city parks are having allocated goose pooping areas, is what I call them. And then signs up to tell the people, do not haze the geese. Leave the geese alone. Get out of here. This is a goose zone. And people just cannot grasp that. But guess what? They're not on the beach and they're not on the grass, and it really helps. It's living and learning to live with wildlife. It's a dynamic, and if you don't want to round them up and get rid of them, and it costs money, that's what they do. So beavers, this is another one. It's normally it's tree damage or flooding. That's the biggest thing. You guys all know that. So the newest thing that got changed that we worked on is a landowner or their agent. Your agent can be anybody. It could be an animal control person, it could be a grandson, granddaughter, it could be the neighbor, it could be anybody can help you now. Before, they could not. So the biggest thing, you have to call and report to St. Paul. Any DNR number, you call and report to a conservation officer. And you don't get their personal numbers anymore. You can't. It goes into a system and they have numbers. Some of them have a home number, but it goes in and it's allocated out to who's on duty or whatever. But it just says you must report it. Once you report it, you're done. That's it. Really easy to do for beaver. You can have private nuisance trappers. We're losing trappers like this. They are going to want $100 to $200 show-up fee. They're going to want $50 to $150 per beaver they catch. I'm in the wrong business right now. Definitely. So tree protection, I'll show you that. And then there are pond levelers. However, MinCor was making them with inmates, and they decided to quit doing it. Was it last year, Lori? We found it? Last year or the year before?
It's been a couple of years.
It's been 2 years. We have nobody manufacturing them. All we can do is have a handout and say, go do it. We've had 2 in town need to be put in. The college was going to do it and build it and everything and help. So our largest people making these, usually it's just one section of pipe. And this is a Clemson leveler right here. This is a wildlife unit where beavers are very hard to get rid of. We had to put in 2 pipes. This is the first one, which is this. The beaver just says, haha, we're going to push all the stuff up the side of it, work all night and day for 2 months, pile it on, nothing you can do. So then we went out farther and farther. Now we go out farther and we wing it out and put the Clemson leveler in. Gotcha. But this is what we do in a lot of waterfowl impoundments to maintain a level for duck nesting. So there are lake associations of people, and you can put these things in. People have natural ponds. They want the beaver. They want them there. But they don't want the water. And in Minnesota, if the dam is on your property, you're responsible for that dam. And if it floods somebody else out there and you say, no, you can't take it out, you can be sued, and a judge will then put an injunction on the deed of your land that dam has to be removed all the time. There's people buying land right now in certain parts of Minnesota that don't realize they have an injunction on their deed that they have to remove a beaver dam if it's there because it's flooded a cornfield or something. The judges are not making them end at that year or the next year. It's in perpetuity. So there's a lot of things with beaver. Beaver are really sensitive. We don't have trappers right now and they're expanding all over the place. But some of the stuff you guys can get used, the regular hardware cloth that you buy, the 1/4-inch mesh, it's at Menards or anywhere. You can use it for rabbits, voles, everything around your trees. Deer don't even like it. So get it, put it on. These plastic tubes, people put them on. They do the small mammal rodent protection ones. Beaver, they really don't like to chew on plastic. They just want the bark. So they're not as bad as a mouse or a vole where they're gonna chew just for fun. They're chewing for food. When they come out of water, predators can get them. So they're uncomfortable. So they're not just there to do it for fun. Turkey damage. How many of you have turkeys? Okay, in 2 years, everybody's gonna raise their hand because this is the way they're booming. They are spreading everywhere in the state. It's another one of our successes that I am working on, and I was part of bringing them back to Northwest Minnesota 10 years ago. And I left and I said, I'm getting out of here before they become an issue. And the next year, our secretary had up there, they're ripping the siding off her house, pecking at everything, going crazy, because she thought it was cool to feed them. And she learned that those birds, they can do a lot of damage. Landscape Arboretum, U of M, on top of flowering crab trees. Orchards, big issue. That bird in the middle of the winter when it's cold out, gets on, if you don't harvest your fruit, gets on top, snaps off all your leaders, breaks the trees down. Orchards, big orchards, don't harvest unharvested fruit, or that they don't want because there's no money in it. So they can stay on the tree, and that's an issue. The birds find it, it's food, they're on top of the tree, 20-pound bird, what's it gonna do to branches? And when it's cold out, snaps them and breaks them.
I had that issue.
Yeah, and they're doing it more and more now.
I gotta prune one of my apple trees from that now.
Yeah, and one of the things we're seeing now is
On vehicles.
they love to display the males, and they get aggressive and attack cars and people. We do removal permits for public safety officers all the time. Most cities are having management plans for turkeys, take care of them. They're getting defensive, territorial. This guy there's feces on the sunroof on that one. He's been there for a while. They're a big issue. How are you gonna get that off? What would you do? Shoot it, there you go. How about if it's in Target parking lot? Look at where this is. This is a residential parking lot. So we have an issue right now in Minnetonka. Post office is not delivering mail to 2 locations. The postal carrier has been attacked, has beat them with scrapers, your window scraper with a cane to draw blood, to do everything. And their union rep has followed them, and they had advised them that it's an unsafe work situation. They are not delivering mail to these 3 houses there. One here, and one here, and one here. And do you know what happens with the one in the middle? The lady came out and said, well, maybe if I feed them again, they'll leave you alone. City ordinance will not be passed to ban feeding in some areas. That is the problem. It's attacked people to the point to where they won't go away. Kicking them, we tell people, you do that a few times that it doesn't do nothing to it, it becomes more brave, more brave, more brave. These are males in the spring territory. They don't care who you are, what they're doing. They attack cars all the time with a reflection. They see themselves. And they go to town on brand new Jaguar cars and shiny things, and they just rip them.
Take the mirror out of my car.
Yep, they'll take the mirror, to go to the windshield. Some turkeys will kill themselves because they went after themselves and had that happen. They're not very smart. So some of the things you can use, I have songbirds, but I left the turkey in there because most people are like, okay, so songbirds that you can use. Cedar waxwings are the biggest thing for eating buds and different things off of in the spring. That's the biggest thing that we have issues with flowering plants. But you can use the bird eye, bird in distress, water, hose. Woodpeckers in the side of your house, hose them again. You know what you do? Put a sprinkler up. Just don't come in and out for a while. That woodpecker will leave after 4 or 5 days because they can't come there. So motion activated, have a heart's got them. Woodpecker's a little hard with the motion stuff. It works, but it works good with deer. But it does not work with deer on golf courses or in urban environments that have landscaping with automatic irrigation because they're used to it. So it's all relative to where you're at. Small birds, it's netting. So like if you're doing something like with grapes or if you have hobby gardening and all that kind of stuff, you've got something you want to display, it's really nice. This dahlia is perfect. I'm going to put this, you cover it, you need to cover it because birds can damage it. There's different things like that. This is one thing I want to stress to you. Animals an occupant may take. You can take these. This is really key for you. A person or a person's agent, that was added. Everything I underline goes with must notify a CO in 24 hours. So they added to the statute bats you can remove, snakes, salamanders, lizards, and they added weasels to the list that you can take. So, but if you take raccoon, bobcat, fox, mink, possum, and beaver, you just need to report it within 24 hours. Doesn't say surrender, doesn't say anything else, just report the take. But you can have anyone do this now. If it's an animal control agent, they're gonna have a permit, they're gonna report it for you. But if you've got a grandson, you've got a neighbor, you got anyone, you can't do this, you wanna live trap it, you don't wanna kill it, or they can do it for you. In Minnesota, I was able to get the statute changed. It's now legal for a person or the person's agent. I don't care if you want to call them your secret agent. I don't care what you want to term it. Agent is just a term. So it's anyone acting on your behalf legally. So these animals here can have that done any time of the year.
Bats.
Yep. Bats, yeah, they added bats.
But aren't they in danger?
Certain species are, and it's up to you. That is a non-game program, which I don't run or work in. They added bats, snakes, salamanders, and lizards to this statute when I opened it up for us changing the agent. Then somebody added on the word weasel. So in state legislature and state agencies, when you open a statute up, it is subject to anyone, any legislator, any other organization to add things and go through as it goes through its processes.
So a turkey, can you shoot a turkey?
Nope.
That's causing damage?
Nope.
Or bears?
Bears, I'll get to bears. Bears is a different statute. Bears has its own statute, has always had its own statute. So turkeys, no, and like I said, deer. You can't touch a deer.
So you can't do anything with a turkey?
You can get a permit from the DNR.
Anytime?
Sure.
Get it?
You can apply for a permit. Are you going to get one? Not necessarily. Agricultural damage, probably. If it's your land, so what I'm going to ask you right at the bat, an area biologist will say, how much hunting do you have on your property? If you say I live in town, I can't do it, first thing we're going to say is, you live in town, it's a city issue. They have a discharge issue, it's not our issue. If it's City of Baxter, you got to work with them. We can't trump the city. If they say there's no hunting there or anything like that, fine, we can't do it.
So I live in a township and I'm allowed to shoot, so you can do it then?
Yep. As long as you don't violate any local, city, township, tribal, county ordinances, you got to look through everything. The state can't trump anyone that is at a lower level. We can't, and the federal government doesn't trump the state government. So that's the way the politics works. That could be a whole nother session. But look at here. Coyotes, skunks, porcupines, woodchucks too. They're unprotected. There's no law against them. They're an unprotected species.
How come you don't have woodchucks on there?
I normally don't talk about woodchucks. They're normally not the one that's there. I just added it now.
Oh.
I mean, woodchucks are there. So woodchucks, most people know woodchuck. What they get confused of is a fur-bearing animal the DNR regulates, which coyotes, we don't have a season on, but it's a fur bearer. To sell the pelts of these things, you have to have a permit or a license in most situations. But they are an unprotected species. Nobody buys woodchuck pelts. If they did, wow. Anyone want a woodchuck coat? Don't think so. But one thing too is the methods can vary. There's shooting. If outside a city firearm ordinance area, there you go. City ordinance prohibits it. There's nothing we can do, and you need to work with the city. Trapping is usually the most effective. Trapping yourself versus hiring a private nuisance trapper. But now you got the agent, whichever secret agent you want, that can help you. Skunks, woodchucks, rabbits, squirrels, raccoons are probably the easiest to catch. I'm going to tell you this. I have to tell you this because state law allows it. Even if I might not agree with the state law, or the program may tell you to do something else, I have to tell you what the state law allows you to do. They may be released on public land or private land with the landowner permission. There's the key. So you run out and dump them out in the city park, the city catches you, you're in trouble. Do you think they want that squirrel thrown in there to go into someone, or raccoon or whatever? People do it all the time in these little woodlots around the metro. They run them out in Free Willy, run them out in Free Sally. They feel good. They feel good about it. But as Lori told me, for some people, mark them. As she said, her husband painted a squirrel. Green paint on the tail. We're going to find out if he comes back. Never did. Do you know what I told her? Violated the #1 rule of biology when you mark and recapture an individual. So if you paint it and identify it and want to see if it comes back, you're trying to essentially recapture it. Mark and recapture is not supposed to affect the livelihood and its ability to live in the wild. If you take a gray squirrel and paint its tail green, every hawk, raptor, anything else is going to see it, and it's going to look abnormal to all of its buddies. And what do animals do? They isolate, kill, yes. So you did them the best. I mean, it's like people don't realize those things. They don't realize that they're doing that. And you made it more susceptible to predators. And it's almost like, well, I guess then you're happy because we did remove it. Like, well, Mother Nature, someone did with doing, you know. So just think of those things. Dropping a problem off somewhere. Would you want someone to drop the problem off in your yard? That's what I check.
I've had to drop cats off.
Well, that's a whole different ballgame. Feral cats, yes. There's other non-lethal ways, which we did repellents, and repellents are being seen to work good with rabbits. Milorganite is one of them. The label for Milorganite is not for a repellent. That's all I can tell you from a state perspective. It is a fertilizer. So you fertilize with the application of what you do, and if you find it, there's research out there that shows it works great for snakes and all these other things. But for feral pigs, they eat it. Doesn't work. Other things, remove the food sources, which we talked about. Treating your lawn for grubs can make it less attractive for skunks, but it is a pesticide, and I totally understand that. And there's other things you can do. Fencing is key, exclusion. Removal of den sites around your yard. I'm not saying go and grab a den and get rid of it, but if you put in a rock retaining wall, you've just created den sites for a bunch of rodents, smaller mammals, woodchucks, raccoons, or whatever. Think about something before you build it. And when the house I bought, they went into an oak ridge, they left trees here and there, and they dozed it all to the edge and pushed it into the woods. It's grown up around. You know how many chipmunks I got? I'm going through with my skid steer and ripping all of those root wads and tree wads things out and burning it for firewood. I mean, this is 18 years ago they did this. Chipmunks flourish in that stuff, and I had huge issues with them. Once I got rid of all that on the edge of my yard, even though I live in an oak ridge with all the food sources, I don't have an issue anymore. I was trapping probably 80 to 90 chipmunks a year and not keeping on top of them. That's crazy. So you think of those things about what you have. Think about underneath a shed, you have a little space for air, right? Put wire around it. Don't let animals go underneath it, live underneath it. You're creating habitat for them. Skunks love it. Do you want to go on your shed and have a skunk underneath there? Probably not coming underneath your feet. It happens. What we say for you is record damage, do everything, take pictures, document, learn from it too for you guys. Report the damage as necessary. I mean, if a bear's in there and destroying that, gets into your stuff, starts doing this, digging up they dig up tubers for plants. They will. It's food, it's starch. People don't think about that when growing flowers. Get the record, figure it out. It helps us manage and determine anything you give us, we put it in. Lori she's controller of the database. Any call comes in, we log it. Name, address, phone number, what the issue is, code it to the species, we track it all. Even if you call about a woodchuck, I still record those, we still do, even though we don't do anything, there's no season with it. But are they common? Yeah, it shows to me that we have no communication education for people on these types of species. Someone needs to help them. So use it for that. Take deterrent measures, utilize population control measures. It's your choice. You can have an apple tree that looks like this. You could have an apple tree that looks like that. Which one do you, it is. It's all our choices about stuff. It's kind of like my little daughter telling her bigger sister. Well, you want a pet bunny, you don't want to trap the bunnies or eating your blueberries, guess what? You're not going to have blueberries to show at the county fair. It's going to eat the bushes down. It's your choice. That's just something me, like a 5-year-old gets this choice thing. This or this, but the other thing my kids always love is, could you imagine if we had this running around? I've shown elephants, I've shown what Africa deals with. Elephants, hippos, all these other things. What would we do if we had that? We got bears, we have all that stuff. So I want to end with this one. These two little culprits I learned a lot from my first few years being there in my house. And actually see the arborvitaes over here, they kind of are eating in the back a little bit. You can now see right through those. And that was one night, 17 deer. I came home, bought rubber buckshot and slugs, shot one deer from here to that window away 3 times, and all it did was like, thank you, I'll take another. Chomp, chomp. And that deer came back. The rest ran with the sound, but guess what? She was not deterred. She was probably starving, hungry, but it taught those other deer, who cares? $50 later, it doesn't matter what I shot them with rubber slugs or buckshot. They all just kind of, give me another one. You know, it's really weird. I mean, animals that are starving, do that. These little guys, I didn't think they would eat. They love petunias. Anyone had that issue?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going into hanging baskets, going up on stuff, pawing them down, knocking them down. I mean, they're going after it. My wife has a lot of flowers. We do a lot of stuff. My kids, we have a small garden. I'll leave with this. I have a very small garden. It's right next to the woods with trails coming in and everything. It's very small. 4-foot chicken wire. Very small areas. They don't like to jump into small things. So if you jam pack it with a whole bunch of vegetables and a whole bunch of other things, they don't go in there. Well, guess what? They're in there all winter this year because my daughters threw our waste apples in there for compost and mulch instead of mulch pile. So now all the deer are trained to jump that fence. Totally done. So they will be helping me install an 8-foot tall wire around this whole thing, which would be 2 things. But it works. I go and tell everyone you gotta do 10-foot woven wire deer fence for agricultural producers. This is what the DNR tells you to do. But yet I go home and I try to do the thing on the cheap that I can do myself. And I have realized overspending the money, which my wife was, oh great, you fixed that, I don't have to worry about it. But when I look at the money, she really reminds me how much I'm spending on these things. And if I would have just done it right the first time, like I tell people to do, we'd save a lot of time, headache, and money. And she's right. She's always right. I mean, that's just easy. That's easy. I won't deny it. I mean, that's why we got married. She's right. I'm wrong. That's great. Keeps me straight. But it's just something to show you that measures have to be taken no matter what. I mean, I have my raspberries on the side. I have to net them from birds. I do all this stuff. I go and buy all this stuff the DNR doesn't buy for people like you and for everyone else and try it and test it because there's always questions. I probably invested over $10,000 of my own to do this, but these 2 little girls are learning everything. This is the county fair this year. They've learned that our chickens we raise can grow over 12-inch diameter broccoli, and you can do things like that. A lot of their classmates don't do that. You know how many kids so here, does anyone realize what that is up there?
Yeah, an elephant with potato, beans, and I can't think of what the ears are.
Do you know how many kids in her class could not tell her what that was? Tons. Tons. We're missing the education with kids with that stuff. I take our meat chickens that I raise for meat, bring them fluffy little things in to school, let the kids see them, and I tell them exactly what their names are. Drumstick, chicken nugget. And some teachers are like, that's cool. I said, this is where I say, how many of you guys love to go to McDonald's? You get chicken nuggets? And my kids know that stuff. It's the reality of what we work with, and I want them to know. I don't want them to be oblivious. Behind them is their apples and everything else. I mean, my daughter got sweepstakes winner, the most blue ribbons in agriculture this year. And you can ask Mary, they go there. My daughters build this. Other parents will go there for the kids and do the stuff for the kid and enter it. My kids don't get that. Dad sits there. Dad tells them, okay, I tell her that celery has to be cut at an angle. Why are you giving a 6-year-old a knife? She's got to learn to cut sometime. She cuts up her own deer. But I mean, we're missing a lot. These kids know how to take care of rabbits. They know how to grow things. They know how to do it. And they're getting exposed to it. And my hope is their friends that come over, they're exposed to it too and they learn it. And I hope this year at the county fair, we can actually get the fair board to change and actually have rhubarb as something kids can enter. You and I can, but kids can't. What's the easiest thing to grow? It's not on the list. What's the easiest thing to grow? It takes up how much room? Every little kid that lives in town could have a rhubarb plant and they could learn that they could do something with it. And rhubarb go look at ornamentally, they're planting it and these kids can't enter it. So working with Mary and trying to get that, I mean, that's where we're gonna change things and help it. And people like you that are in this, passionate about what you do, is it's passing it on for them and helping them too. And that's key. So yeah, I can take any questions, anything you guys might have. I have demos, there's stuff, there's handouts. There's differences in chicken wire that I have here. There's heavy duty, there's plastic, Yes?
I have a question about the repellents.
Yep.
Is that something that when it rains you have to replenish too?
So there's a granular that goes on the ground. That is different. The ones that I've used, the Systemics tabs, no. They're in the ground, the plant absorbs it, it goes up into the plant.
You just push them in the ground?
You just dig around them, yep, put them in there. Put three or four for every plant. 4 is a good measure.
Okay.
Put them in.
And then you just do that for the season?
Yeah, I would do it again. I would do it twice a year. It seems expensive, but what do you want? And I'm gonna tell you, if you bite into that plant, they're gonna be hot, because I've watched the deer do it. It's so funny when they bite into that thing, they jump back and they're gone. So it works.